本命は元締めの祭りやフェスタ。海王類の海難事故で死んだはずのロジャー時代の大物海賊。
おまけにこいつもだ。
What's up, everybody? We got some Smoker versus Yamato. And hold on, I know you looked at the timestamp and you're like, what? 15 minute game? What's going on here? Yamato wins really fast, right? Well, this game, it's a little wild here. I definitely put Yamato kind of in their place here as we try to figure out and navigate through this specific matchup here. Ended up going second. Yamato loves going first. I ended up winning the die roll, but I really wanted to go second in this specific matchup as it just favors my curve a lot better on Smoker. I am playing the new starter deck, post-starter deck version of Smoker here. Got our Sengokus, got our Tashigis. Really want to see the Tashigis in this specific matchup as Okiku is kind of a big threat that the opponent has here. Opponent's going to go ahead and swing 8k, and I did not want to counter out of that. I could have, but I would have ended up using 3 cards, and I really wanted to keep those resources. That Rebecca's going to come pretty in clutch here, especially on this turn here. Kind of stops Yamato from going any further. And yeah, rocking those PRB Dawn. So we've got a full Dawn deck of all the different Dawn here. Slowly working on the foil versions. Some of them I'm still missing, as I kind of wanted to have a full set of Dawns that I liked. You know, just 10 of unique Dawn, and then try to collect some of those that I like a little bit more. How's everybody liking the best PRB01? Speaking of the best, I actually uploaded a video of me playing, or not playing, but opening. I said playing because I usually release gameplay, but opening some of the best here. And actually, if you haven't seen that video, I definitely would recommend watching it because there is a giveaway in that video. I'm not going to tell you when it happens, so I definitely gotta watch and see the magical adventure as I open up all those packs. Gotta see what I get, right? But I end up giving away a lot of awesome cards, a lot of very playable cards. I think every single card I gave away was a playable, competitively viable card. So if you're looking to get into the game or still missing some very viable SRs, maybe because they were too expensive in the past, definitely check that video out. I'll have a little link to it in the description, and definitely give it a watch and join the giveaway. With that in mind, yes, we kept the Rebecca on purpose because we wanted to go Rebecca on our 4 Dawn turn to try to stop Yamato from attacking into you. That's how you beat Yamato. Yamato just loves to attack because they do have double attack. You just want to play out the Rebecca to stop their potential shenanigans. Now, Yamato does run things like Izo being a 3-cost character that can rest a 4-cost or less. So cards like Sabo end up being a lot better in this specific matchup. But that Rebecca is going to be a little bit of a wall for Yamato to potentially get through here, as I don't really want to go down to 1 at this point, as my hand is a little clunky. I end up having 2 Jacks in my hand. Jack not necessarily as good in this specific matchup, as my opponent does have a lot of higher cost threats, and Jack's not going to be able to clean up nearly as much. The things that Jack will typically clean up are going to be things like Kikunojo, but even then so, I don't want to be attacking into Kikunojo or KOing Kikunojo, as Kikunojo does have that trigger to gain my opponent a life if I'm at 3 or less, which I have met that condition. Yamato's very good at allowing my opponent to meet that condition. And now we're going to go to my 6 Dawn turn here. My opponent this is a little awkward here. I'm just going to go ahead and swing a 5k. My opponent did put a card on top of their life, so I assume it's some kind of trigger. Likely could be an Okiku here. Or Kikunojo. So we're just going to try to pressure my opponent's life here. We're going to go and send 6k. Opponent gives me another counter here. Opponent going down to 2 cards in hand. And I'm like, okay, neat. So now I can potentially, and so I'm going to go ahead and just swing 5. I'm just going to keep trying to get cards on my opponent's hand. If my opponent just wants to save his board here, or save his life as much as possible. Opponent now recognizing that I don't have enough to play out something like a Tashigi here to get rid of that Kikunojo. But lucky for me, next turn Tashigi's coming down and clearing something out. Instead, I'm just going to activate -1 on the Hiyori and then play out the Rook to KO the Hiyori, as I didn't have enough minusing resources to take out that Izo. Izo's just going to chill on board for a little bit. Izo, if anything, is just going to get 2 Dawn and swing 5k at lead here. At this point, I'm going to try to protect my life as much as possible because I really do not want to go any lower. The opponent does something pretty scary, plays out an Onami, giving Yamato Banish, and then going to go ahead and attach 4 to lead, swinging 9k at lead with Banish. You can see me immediately reaching for cards in hand because I am not taking that because I do not want to lose 2 cards of the trash from my life. I need those life resources as much as possible. We're going to pitch 2 2Ks and a Tashigi. Little does my opponent know I actually have 3 Tashigis in hand. Funny enough, before this matchup, my opponent did mention that, slap the camera, speaking of which, my opponent did mention that he was very afraid of Tashigi in the specific matchup just because it's such a clean answer to Kikunojo. So getting rid of 1 Tashigi there out of a counter, I think maybe gave my opponent a little bit of relief, realizing that maybe I don't have another one, but I definitely have another one. And likely that's what we're going to play here going up to our 8 Dawn turn. If we wanted to play the Gecko Moria, I just don't think it would have enough targets here, as we're going to just activate to minus that Nami down because Brook's likely going to clean it up. And we're going to just spend 1 Dawn on my lead. We're going to spend 2 Dawn likely on the Brook here. Maybe just going to try to go for a cleanup on my opponent's board. So we're going to go, I think, 6k into Izo, and then we'll KO that Onami on attack. Likely cleaning up 2 things because my opponent is at 2 cards in hand. We're going to go 6k at lead here. Opponent has 3 life. My opponent maybe knows, shouldn't know what's on his life, but this specific Yamato deck does have potentially a lot of triggers, so potentially could be triggering something out here, and with me having so much Dawn open, I could potentially just kill whatever he plays out. Gonna play out the Tashigi, he's gonna -4, and then we'll activate to KO that Kikunojo. Or not KO, trash. We're gonna trash that Kikunojo because that's what Tashigi does. Trashing does not trigger KO abilities, so Kikunojo is not going to gain my opponent a life since I have 3 or less life. Now we're kind of at this weird standstill where we've kind of taken turn, like my opponent took their turn to clear my board, I took my turn to clear their board while also pressuring my opponent's hand. My opponent's at 2 cards in hand, whereas I'm at 5 cards in hand. Little does my opponent know that I only have 2k counter in hand, so likely if my opponent decides to go for a 7k swing with Yamato here, very likely to die in this specific instance. Opponent's going to play out the Hody Jones. Hody Jones coming down. This is one of those threats that I was talking about that, Jack just can't clean up here. I do need a little bit of help from hand to be able to clear the Hody Jones, as the -4 from Tashigi and the -1 from lead and the -1 from Brook is not enough to add up to KO a 0 cost from a 7 cost, as both Tashigi and Brook require their target to be a 0 cost character. So maybe we can find something off the rip here if my opponent does decide to attach those 2 Dawn and go at lead here. Opponent is a little afraid though, as my opponent only has 2 cards in hand. That Tashigi could be doing some work here, so I think likely what they're going to do is just swing into Tashigi with one of the attacks here. Opponent going to go ahead and swing 10k. Gonna go into Tashigi. I'm just gonna let that go. Opponent's gonna swing 7k. Where's that gonna go? Is there a little bit of fear in the dojo? Yep, there's fear in his dojo. He's gonna go ahead and send that at Brook here. I have 2 turns in a row. All of my characters have become blockers for Yamato here. Yamato electing to go for board clear instead of face. I guess just too much fear of me potentially capitalizing on my character staying alive to clear his board. Now we're kind of in the situation where I could play out brand new. I could play out the. Oh, okay. So gonna go for the Sengoku play here. Gonna discard. Gonna minus or discard 2 Navy cards from hand. We're gonna get a Tashigi and a brand new out of hand to then draw some additional cards here. So because we have the Gecko Moria, that does put a brand new in the yard if there wasn't one already, which I believe there was, to get that off of play here. I was really hoping to find a Ice Age here. That's what I was digging for in the specific scenario, but we did not find that. Instead found a Kobe, I think that's the Hina, and then the Suru here. We're gonna play out our Gecko. Gecko is definitely gonna find the Rebecca here, but what else it finds is gonna be a good question. We're going to play out the Rebecca, and then let's see here. Likely just going to play out. Okay, so we're just gonna play out Sengoku again. We're just gonna redo, and try to find some more cards. So we're gonna pitch the 2 cards that we drew off Sengoku. One of them is Kobe. Kobe, fun card that hasn't seen play in a while. Kobe is a fun 2 of in this deck as another way to KO things off of Rebecca, as Kobe does KO a 3 or less by discarding a card. We're gonna just play out Rebecca. With the Rebecca effect, we're going to get back a 2k counter, and then we're going to play out the brand new off of Rebecca's effect, which then whiffs and misses. I think I saw like 2 Rebeccas or 1 Rebecca and 2 Brooks or something. And we're just going to attack lead. We attack 6k in the lead, falling into one of my opponent's traps. This was a complete mistake from my end. I forget that Yamato also runs some events that rest my characters on their attacks. I end up hitting one of those events that he triggers to rest the Rebecca, kind of leaving me defenseless this specific turn. I do have 2k, at least 2Ks and 2 1Ks here, so feeling kind of confident that I'll stay alive. On board currently, my opponent can knock me down to 0 if they play their cards right and attach their Dawn right, but I'm feeling a little confident at this point, especially if you're watching this far into the video. Definitely subscribe, join the all blue crew. If you're here at the 10-ish minute mark, you definitely should join the crew here, because I release videos like this on a pretty regular basis. I think I try to do about 3 to 4 videos a week of cool gameplay. We do retrospective commentary, me talking about some plays that I've made, mistakes that I've made, as well as some tips and tricks for specific leaders. But opponent's asking me here what card I got back. I got the Dashigi back. An opponent really thinking hard in the tank here. If he plays out another Hody Jones, I could likely be in a very scary situation. But at this point, I'm feeling a little confident with having at least 6k in hand at this point. Opponent's going to play out a Kiku Nojo here, and going to likely he could attach a little bit to clear some stuff. Maybe even will commit a little bit of resources to clear the Rebecca here. Opponent's very nervous about what I could potentially play here. Just gonna swing into Rebecca. Rebecca is fine. Even when she's tapped, she's still gonna take a block here. Yamato playing very safe here. Gonna go ahead and swing 11k at lead. I'm gonna take that. We're gonna end up finding a Sabo. Sabo is like one of the perfect draws, because Sabo cannot be stopped by some of the shenanigans from my opponent here. Gonna put a Kiku Nojo back onto life with their blocker here, so I'm in a situation where I'm very close to being able to go for game, because I know my opponent has 1 card in hand, a no blocker there. So if I have, which I do have the Tashigi, right? So we could Tashigi, attach 1 to lead, activate lead. Once Tashigi happens, so leads is 7k, and then we can trash the blocker, and then we could swing 7k, which my opponent can't counter out of, and then we could swing, like, I think we'd have 4 Dawn left. We could swing 7k again, which my opponent couldn't counter out of, and then we could swing 9k to finish the game. That's one way that I could do this here. I don't think I end up doing that specific route, as I've tried to be as safe as possible. I think we're just going to go for the Sabo play here. Go ahead and draw 2 cards. We end up finding an Ice Age, which makes our life maybe a little bit easier, though we are missing the KO target. But we do have the Rebecca, so Rebecca, I could Ice Age, I could Ice Age the Hody Jones, play Rebecca to get the Kobe. I could Ice Age the blocker, play out a Brook to KO the blocker. We're gonna Ice Age the Hody Jones, so we're gonna do the play that the former play that I mentioned here, as that's kind of just like the safest play this turn. And likely I could have gone for game based on the information that I discussed earlier, but we're just gonna go for the super safe play. We're gonna play out the Kobe here. Kobe's gonna come in. Kobe is gonna make me trash a card from hand. We'll just trash the Sengoku and KO the Hody. Opponent's kind of in this situation now where I have 2 blockers on board, as well as 2 life. Opponent's kind of in a very hard situation. Only 1 card in hand, playing out a Momonosuke to try to search for something fun, but looking not too good for my opponent here at this point. I'm kind of, the inevitable is likely to occur here, where I finish the game. I just have such a resource advantage against my opponent with only 1 card and 1 face-up life. That face-up life does not have counter. And if my opponent does put that into play, it's not going to do any good for them on the specific turn that I'm going for lethal. So opponent just thinking here, based on the cards that he looked at, still trying to debate on what he wants to add to hand here. He's going to add the Izo, or thinking about it at least. So yeah, he's going to add the Izo. He's going to play out the Izo. Izo's going to rest the Rebecca here, and then I think he's just going to try to go for something here. Oh, does have the Trilicorn or something. I have no idea what that card's called, but basically you rest a 3. You give something 3,000, then you rest a 3 or more, and then you rest a 5 or less. So my opponent just goes ahead and swings 9k, and he's going to swing 9k again, 10k, and I'm just going to counter out of it with my 3 2ks. And my opponent had a very valiant play there. He ends up just conceding the game after that, as I definitely can go for lethal there. But that was a really, really heads-up play for my opponent, being able to rest both my blockers, try to go for some kind of lethal. But I had exactly what I needed in hand, at least several 2Ks that I was able to just accrue through the Sengokus and through the Rebekkas to finish the game. But other than that, thanks for watching, everybody.